We also have a look at cattle markets this week with Oklahoma State Extension Livestock Marketing Specialist Derrell Peel. As we told you in our previous episode, U.S. beef exports for the month of February were down nearly 3% from February 2014. But the biggest buyer, Japan, actually increased its shipments more than 9%. Cattle prices ran higher to end March, but have now settled back a bit. We started our conversation there when we talked with Derrell Wednesday morning.
Well, I think we're kind of in a typical seasonal pattern here right now. This year, especially compared to last year, we're going to see a little more seasonal tendency. So especially the fed cattle market, this is about the spring peak of the market. And feeder cattle have rallied a little bit. We've had fairly good grass demand, grazing demand for the lightweight cattle. And so, again, both of those markets are probably approaching some sort of spring peak here.
So the elements, are they there to take it higher or no?
Probably not, again, on a seasonal basis. The heavier feeder cattle typically do go up into the summer period, and that may happen. Feedlots have had pretty lousy margins, so they're not really interested in higher feeder cattle prices, but that may be the best place where we have a chance of it. I would expect to see the fed cattle prices begin to weaken seasonally here over the next, certainly over the next 2 months and really in the coming weeks.
How concerned are you with the U.S. beef export market?
Well, we've had some real challenges there. I think, there's two ways to look at it, I guess. On the one hand, it's remained remarkably strong given that we're in, extremely high domestic prices here in the U.S. and limited supplies. But certainly in the last 6 months or so, the strong dollar, the increase in the dollar relative to other currencies has made it an even more of a challenge for beef exports. And that will continue to be a headwind for us. So we're going to see less exports this year than last year. But on the other hand, it's holding up remarkably well given all of these conditions.
The demand that left Derrell with the West Coast port closures, has that returned?
I think we've got most of those problems cleared up now in a logistical sense. Beef seems to be flowing again, and more importantly, knowing that situation is corrected, we're probably getting back on track with the orders and the interest in buying, knowing that we can follow through and actually make those shipments now.
How much of a boost can we expect for domestic demand with grilling season in sight?
Well, again, it's seasonal demand. I think I think we'll see that impact in there. Now, how does it translate into prices? Again, we've had pretty strong box beef prices on the combination of tight supplies and limited slaughter, as well as now moving into this summer demand season. But all of that is happening in the face of increased pork and poultry supplies, and so that continues to be a challenge for the beef side.
The USDA has announced that U.S. producers are now able to export fed cattle to Mexico. How big of a deal is this?
In the grand scheme of things, it's probably not a major market factor. There's a couple of areas where, fed cattle are produced close to the border, and there's Mexican plants close to the border on the other side that might benefit from the ability to bring some cattle in and supplement their volumes. It's pretty limited. I think it's most likely, if it is going to have an impact, it will be in that Southern California to Baja California, Mexico region. There may be an opportunity to move a limited number of cattle, possibly out of South Texas as well. But in the grand scheme of things, this is really a matter of a few hundred to a few thousand head. Won't have any impact nationally on the markets, but it certainly may be important to some specific producers on both sides of the border.
How are producers in Texas and Oklahoma situated going into spring with moisture?
I tell you, we're really excited. This past week in Oklahoma, we had widespread rains, probably the best general coverage we've had in a long time. It's extremely timely, not only for our wheat crop as it finishes out this spring, but from a pasture and forage standpoint. And we're getting some rain in some of those areas that have been in continuous drought with no relief really for about 4 years. So we may be chipping away at it. Obviously, we've got a long ways to go. It doesn't solve our problems, but it may well be the first step, and it's certainly very timely.
I want to ask you one final question here, Derrell. For producers in Oklahoma and Texas, has the expansion begun? Has it halted? Where is it at right now?
The expansion jumped off to a pretty big start in Texas and Oklahoma in particular last year. In fact, Oklahoma has expanded the last 2 years. So we've got a good start. There was some question, at least just a few weeks ago, about whether we could sustain that expansion. The rains that we're getting now gives us more encouragement that we can continue that process. The replacement heifers were there in the January inventory, so I think all the pieces are in place. We're still keeping an eye on Mother Nature here in terms terms of what we can do, but certainly I think we're ready, and we'll try to do that if at all possible.
Friday, after this taping, the USDA will release data on the price of meat during the month of March. The average price for all fresh retail beef has increased for the last 3 consecutive months.